Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, my pretties. I hope you're having a fantastic, if this is going up what I intended to, Christmas Day. Be sure to hit the like button, and if you haven't already, sub and ring the bell for the channel as we go on to talk about the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials, consisting of the Star Beast, Wild Blue Yonder, if that's the one I struggle to remember the most, and the Giggle. There we are. First time I record one of these in a while, and somebody comes up to interrupt me. Ain't it always way. Anywho, spoiler warnings for the content we'll be discussing coming up, and also I asked the understanding that while praise can be swift, criticism, even if it's only a nitpick, requires a breath. So, yes, without further ado, let's go into the first one, the first note of Doctor Who after the Chibnall era, and that is the Star Beast. On the whole, I absolutely fantastically adored this episode. This was a fantastic return to form of the show, providing you everything you needed from the action, comedy, this one's a little bit for cheap. The charm of the Doctor, it's David Tennant is already a proven factor there. What remains to be seen is Duty. No, it's like a J. Duty Gatwa? Anyhow, it remains to be seen like how they perform in the role. I know there's like sex ed they've done before, but I've never seen that, and it's like, okay. I've gone into my thoughts before. With the first female Doctor, I would have kind of stunk cast that of like a bigger, more well-known name that I could have gotten from like the pop culture sci-fi scene, but that's neither here nor there to what we need to discuss about. So yeah, on the whole, this episode is immaculately constructed from start to finish. It performs superbly. Nitpick, so I want to jump straight into stuff, or is there anything it's nice seeing the sonic screwdriver they designed for the Doctor. Especially after we see the one the 15th is going to be getting, apparently. You gave us a perfectly acceptable, dare I say even lovable one, and then you give us Sky TV remote. Why? At that point, why is it even still called the sonic screwdriver at that point? Though it's kind of like there's a reason they've been kept spherical up until this point for that exact reason to evoke the imagery of a screwdriver. It's just it's a Sky TV remote that just looks a lot more clunky to use, Oh well. I absolutely love the work they did on the Meep for this episode, and the Wrath as well. Puppeteering for the Meep, spot on. Good mix of CGI. They have the good sense to not have to try and reinvent the wheel with the Meep and the Wrath. And just said, you know what, no, we're overthinking this. Let's just bring to life the original versions. And it was the right call. It was the right call. The amazing the reveal of the Meep, for those who I didn't even have the vaguest hint to this. I'm not even a big the Genesis Squad comics reader for when it comes to Doctor Who, but Broke Canon what's a YouTube series that goes into some of the craziest bits of Doctor Who lore. Did mention the Meep at some point. So yeah, it's a niche character to bring into it, but also, given it's a 60th anniversary, a rather appropriate one. And yeah, the Wrath, they were actors in that on stilts, and yeah, they move rather fluidly, all things considered. Just amazing physical prop work that we didn't see a bunch of for, the previous era. It's just a creative approach. We're seeing behind the scenes footage again with this new era of Doctor Who, and just seeing they 3D printed a lot of the prosthetics for specifically to go on the actors. That's wild. And it really does look very good. Again, anyone really critiquing them, I will say, keep in mind they were designed back the 60s or 70s, so they're coming from that kind of retro era of sci-fi, and they're just faithful recreation of that. So bear that in mind versus like how it looks on screen brought to life based on the original designs and what critiques you may have of said original designs. There's two different things. Anywho, yeah, on the whole, this episode is just very well structured narratively. In a way, things progress in a natural, logical way that you would expect them to from the information presented to us and circumstances that happen. And yeah, there's like no real massive potholes up until like about the end. Oh, there was a God, gonna have to cut this out. Somebody I wanted to talk about. Just by necessity of the whole Jinsakra Davos discourse, I have a video I want to upload later after this one. What Shirley and Brigham is the character one must talk about in relation to that because they are representative of, two different examples of representation. There we are. That's why I was summoning. I'll use the word I wanted to use. One framed as kind of bad, Davos, which we have a video about that. And this one, Jinskwa, Shirley. God, I can't remember that name. Posada is generally a more well, again, like she is a good one, that does serve the story well, is engaging on screen. I just wanted to be the tiniest bit pedantic because they're trying to do this thing of like, oh, cool gadgets in the wheelchair, and it's like, okay, like tiny little missiles. How many can you have in there? We used to blow up a wall at some points, but like. Look, I can give a long, detailed explanation of like, trying to use a gun and how like easily I can move about pointing in different directions with my hands versus the stiffness of like the chair where you have to move the whole thing. But I feel like I realize a more condensed way of explaining how just a little bit silly that is like there's a reason the top part, the barrel of a tank can move independently from the base, There's inherent advantages to that. So having the the barrels specifically worked into the base of the wheelchair, and thus necessitating to rotate the entire thing in order to shoot it, is a bit foolhardy of design. So yeah, that's a little nitpick on my part. A little nitpick. But anywho, where else were we? Basic details of the story. The Doctor, after just regenerating and doing a bunch of off-screen stuff in comics, arrives in London and then starts bumping into Donna and her family again and starts telling a bunch of details about them as a spaceship flies overhead in London. Donna, as is typical before like adventuring with the Doctor, missed it all. And Doctor goes to investigate that. There's a lovely little scene with him talking with Shirley, hiding in the shadows, which I adore. Like, it's so dynamic, and you never got anything like that in the previous era. It was all the framing, the positioning of everybody, just the way the setting. It was all so stiff and rigid, but now this is like so much more fluid. The Doctor's like sitting there, kicking back, knows she's gonna come up, and like they exchange information, and he kind of just slinks away and hides out of sight as a soldier comes up to report to Shirley, and then just bounces off. The way he sneaks into the military base, that was something they 100% would have cut away from during the Chibnall era, and it's like it was so fun just being able to see that. But yeah. We are introduced to Donna and her daughter Rose, and lovely little scene about just. I feel like this is so much more subtle, but then makes it all the more worse and hurtful when this scene happens. Is like Rose is trans and B femme presenting, all that. And like you just have some kids running by shouting out Jason, and then you start to realize, oh yeah, the dead naming her. You wouldn't. It's like something else you have to deal with that. You would assume like a more innocent explanation for that straight away before you then realize, oh no. Anyhow, they head home. She, escape pod is found. Meep is found, brought back to the home. The Wrath come, which we don't know at first, but are actually the good guys trying to save the day. A bunch of huge unit soldiers are possessed by a psychedelic sun, which I just love. And yeah, there's a lot of firefights between them. A new function of the Sonic, creating force fields, while this could be useful, it kind of seems like you would want a few more baked in presets, you know? I dare say that would have been more useful than like having to slowly draw it out. Yeah, maybe just get a scan of like the width of the Genesqua, the hallway, and just, shoot. Just like, quick burst of a wall into there, just shoot out a shield as opposed to slowly etching it out. It is remarkably slow. And I'm surprised they are able to, Genesqua get the second one out without them advancing at all. Thank goodness they just stuck to shooting at each other from across the hallway. Anyway, we also see like the Sonic just able to vibrate apart some concrete, which again, there has to be safeties in the Sonic to ensure it doesn't kill anybody. you know? Though personally, now that I think about it, while as fun as that is to see, and I suppose useful in other regards, well, actually, no, again, why doesn't it just have the whole shooting thing? That Jack's gun had. It just seems far more efficient and swift. Like, how long did it take you to do that? And like, Genesqua have to do it from multiple walls when you could have just shot a hole in one and then sealed up the hole as you all came through. It just seems more useful because of its speed and then sealing up the route behind you, which is always a useful trait to have. But anyhow, I'm getting into nitpicks. Very pedantic nitpicks for me. Anyway, as they escape, the Doctor realizes the guards are left alive and the weapons are doing no damage to the car, so apparently he just teleports them to them and does a Shadow Proclamation courtroom thing, which the best rig that's like super niche comedy to only English people. It's not really funny to anyone outside of that. I guess it's nice to sticking with it, but at the same time, like how are you supposed to get a laugh at that from any other nation where this is not done, And on top of that, I noticed they ADR'd in the David Tennant saying, intercept teleport with like way more energy than the Doctor has in the motion he's doing. So it's like, maybe there was a disagreement about how it should be done, because I could see at first them saying like, as he's doing this, he would have like some authority to teleport them to him, which is a thing you normally wouldn't do for ethical reasons. But at the same time, like once you establish the Doctor can do that, that's like a big thing to Genesqua not have him do more often. So I feel like they put in the line intercept to imply he's rerouting it as opposed to like teleporting them towards him. But it's like, why would they be teleporting? And we've never really established them with that capability throughout the rest of the episode. Unless I'm misremembering, they just pretty much like hoofed it everywhere on foot, on wing. So, meh. I also then have to wildly wonder, once he's starting to put the both of them on try and get to the bottom of things, and then like starts questioning the Meep, he never assumes at any point the Meep might have a weapon on them, Never once would he ever consider that. And it's like actually wildly reckless of the Doctor to have done this and getting those two people killed, kind of. Because yeah, like they were only there to be shot because he had summoned them. So yeah, that's not something I didn't really consider till retrospect, because of like, again, good pacing of the episode. Where it's like, yeah, this was kind of reckless of the Doctor to do if he had suspicions. Because like, if he was suspicious that Meep was a bad guy, he would assume, hey, you know what bad guys love to do? Be armed with incredibly powerful weaponry, at least in these sci-fi worlds. So yeah, like the fact that he didn't do anything to like check the Meep or something, it's like, it's kind of wild. Oh well. Moving right along. Last people dead. We get the names so we can feel bad about it. I don't remember what their names are. Moving right along past that point, and into the area we start to get some contentions with the episode. Now, a lot of the do we want to get to that yet? Yeah. Yada yada yada. We get a lovely little scene of the meat basking over his empire, and then the Doctor and Donna being led away with the family, and then what is her name? I just don't want to say wheelchair scientist, because that's a bit Shirley. There we are. Anyhow, Shirley interrupts them with dart guns. I would only assume in the wheelchair as well. So it's amazing that they happen to line up. I guess maybe there's a more advanced. No, for explosives at the very least, they were just kind of like wedged in there and just shot out. I suppose they could have a bit of a homing system built into them and into the propellant, but still. Anyhow, knocked out in some regards, as they were being escorted away. The family is sent away while the Doctor is, chasing after this dagger drive, which, for those of you, including myself, that are unaware until the episode revealed it basically digs into the earth, the surrounding earth around itself to harvest anything it can use for fuel, which does tremendous damage to the ecosystem. Just like everything is torn asunder up to ruin, which, given how violent we were told the meat became as a race, feels rather appropriate way for them to get around. Oh yeah, give me a second. I just have to stab the ground and hollow it out from within in order to take off. I'll be with you in a moment. Feels thematically appropriate to them. Anyhow, Donna goes to the Doctor. They get divided by a glass wall, which is like the most impractical security measure around. And also, I feel like we've established the Doctor's are rather good at destroying these things, and B, it's another instance where where that feature from Captain Jack's gun would have been very useful. Because even if they couldn't shatter it, they could just zap a hole in it to pass in and out. That would have been very useful in this instance. But oh well, we had to get Donna to remember who she was so she could operate the other half of the room as Dr. Donna. Anywho, at this point we come into some of the issues. Rose featured in this episode as, trans representation has been fairly well handled. Right up until this point where it's revealed as, the offspring of Donna inherited some of that meta crisis stuff from Donna, and also somehow gets that, which I can buy in of that extent. But then they kind of go specifically into oh, she's super great because of it. We get this weird scene I thought was just establishing the connection between as Dawn is going through this, so is Rose. And it's on the scene, where Donna's going binary as part of the activation code the Doctor had set up. I mean, that went on for a little bit too long. It's understandable as a security measure, it would be that long. The Doctor would be that cautious, but at the same time, it took a long while, and he could have rushed through that. They were in a time pinch. Anywho, turns out, Rose, very quietly, so much that my audio processing I did not understand. She was saying non-binary in response to that. Non-binary. As relevant to her, and they kind of go into the Doctor not being man nor woman. And it's well, no, I doubt the 13 would say that. I doubt she very much did identify as a woman, as many as the previous male actors, male doctors have identified as male. So, I don't know where this is coming from. The Doctor has never really identified as non-binary. They haven't cared specifically too much about the gender, and there's a discussion to be had about that. How many people generally earnestly identify as a gender, and thus binary, or just comfortable enough with the things that we care either way, and just kind of fall in between the two of, ironically enough, binary and non-binary, adding to its non-binary status. But that's a whole other thing. Point is, they kind of just made her seem like there was something super and special about her, but in relation to trans, where her transgender, what's it? Well, not identity, but basically her being trans somehow made her super special in relations to this meta crisis nonsense, when it simply could have just been enough for her to, be the Donna's daughter and inherit that from her, and thus be out of the situation and and thus able to swoop in. Like they go into quite a lot of detail about it. They, you know, like I try to focus on what exactly was said at that point, and it just kind of blurs out. Because all you need is like I said, Donna's daughter. That's it. That's it. We don't need any more about like the trans stuff. This could have worked just as well if Rose had just never had any desire to transition and just was stayed cisgender and was Jason. It would have worked just as well with that. I could have bought it just as easily, and just again the same advantage of not being stuck in the room surrounded by soldiers under the control of the Meep, allowing her to deactivate those soldiers. I would also say it gets a bit weird that the deactivation for them was a control panel he had set up outside the ship. That was weird. Personally, I kind of would have liked it a bit more if he had took the rat soldiers he had killed and brought them with him as trophies, tranquilizer guns included, and that gave Rose an opportunity to grab them, go up to the now unguarded cockpit, and knock out the Meep and reabsorb the psychedelic sun gas. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Sorted nice and easily. That would have actually been just a lot nicer of a conclusion, other than just flipping a control switch they left out in the open unguarded. Kind of seems like something that would be controlled from the main hub and not just a random dial. And B, Meep would be incredibly protective of. But whatever, I mean, no, not whatever. I will stand by it. It not only would have been a better end, it would have been better representation, for trans people, giving them a nice little action scene they can claim all to themselves. Of grabbing the trank gun, running on up, and knocking out who I believe they were trying to. Maybe they weren't. I thought the kind of vibe they were saying was the Meep was slightly of a transphobe. Not super down the hill about it, but calling Rose weird. But also, she is slightly weird making plushies. Those are two correlative things. I doubt one is causative of the other, but pretty big overlap in those Venn diagrams of trans people and people being weird. But then again, that's just giving them character. But it's just very confusing why they're trying to make it focus so hard on it, Also, they're trying to hint that she had memories of it all her life, and that kind of gets into some complicated territories of because of the psychic impression of the doctor, when she transitioned, she chose and named the doctor from someone the doctor previously had romantic interest in. So, what am I supposed to make of that? It's okay. Again, it's also Russell D. Davis just going back to, the same Rose mine he's been going since season 2. Plenty of people have the name Rose. I actually think it probably would have been better and also more inclusive of the history of the franchise as a whole. If she would have memory of that, so kind of would have been from the library. Would have been interesting if she had gone for River instead. I think that would have been nice. But anywho, where was I? Yes, going into the next bit of nonsensory, I will also state at this point my firm opinion that these specials would have been better served if they had an overarching narrative to them, even if it was subtly implied, with the toy maker, who is the main focus in the third special, and him having a presence in this one. Some examples I would have said of the Meep not exactly understanding how his spaceship had managed to land when it was crashing, hinting that, something had intervened to create the set piece that they eventually find themselves in later on. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But no, that's the wrong kind of thing. you get what I'm hitting at. That he is manipulating and orchestrating events from the shadows to serve his own end, that I'll get into as we talk about the next special. And one of those things would have been just like dealing with the whatever the metacrisis energy was, so Donna and Rose could retain their memories. Because the explanation they give isn't really much of one, and just kind of boils down to misandry, which is problematic enough, saying like a male presenting Time Lord could never understand. Which just there's just no other way to say that. That's just blatant sexism, and also it kind of gets the double trouble feature of the Doctor now kind of having gone from Jodie Whittaker to David Tennant, kind of falling into that area of like kind of a cis character, kind of a trans character, because the Doctor did transition from woman to man after having done it the other way around. So it does kind of come across as a je ne sais quoi, a cis woman and a NB trans person that I think is just she, they, But anyhow, them just saying to a kind of trans mass character, oh, you can never at all in any way understand femininity. And again, after coming off of Jodie Whittaker, that kind of seemed a bit problematic, and also doesn't really provide any in-universe explanation for how this is getting resolved other than, okay, we're done with this now, It's like, just like sexism can't be your answer to how you're dealing with a plot point. Like, the toy maker just dissipating this energy because he needs, Donna to be with the Doctor in the next episode, and the Doctor's not going to do that unless, like, she's cured of this, oh my god, it's really bad. It's really bad. I don't know what else to say. I will also say another nitpick I didn't mention earlier. The Doctor mentions like he was just this fantastic woman, and it's like I think I mentioned this on the stream with I did with Lich VT, another VTuber I do collabs with, but like, whenever you ever heard the Doctor speak that positively of a past incarnation of themselves, Like, whenever they meet up for the je ne sais quoi, the previous specials for the anniversaries, with multiple Doctors in them, like the second Doctor called the third Doctor Dandy, the third Doctor called the second Doctor Scarecrow. I remember the 11th Doctor pointing out the 10th Doctor's sand shoes, apparently. And then the quip about compensating from the 10th Doctor? It's like, they like each other enough, but they're just narcissistic enough to believe they're all the definitive edition, and thus have to, like, nitpick at the other. They never seriously get into it to each other, they just have little quips. But, like, again, at no other point have we heard, like, the Doctor be, like, especially straight off of a generation, that nice to the previous selves, It's just rather out of character. I get why they're trying to do that. I do believe it's like a false narrative with like how many of the people that is like the Whittaker era, Chibnall era, or like far-right individuals, I feel like across the political spectrum, the show was disliked, and, the small percentage of judge who still loud and noticeable kind of got put as the figureheads of the whole movement to kind of serve as scapegoats for Chibnall. Because, like, why adjust the criticism at all when it's just, politically motivated against people who just think any inclusion at all of, like, trans people is too woke, like you've succumbed to the woke mind virus and thus you're no longer good. But yeah, it's again, also some people are saying about this episode, but at the same time, again, like you didn't really need to again, forgive my limited knowledge. I did want to mention this as well. But forgive me, this is my limited knowledge of trans people. From what I do understand, a lot of them view being trans as the least interesting aspect of themselves. And, do not approve of it suddenly becoming the sole defining feature of themselves when it comes to political discussions, or simply being viewed as a trans activist for, like, just existing in a political space as a trans person. That suddenly necessitates you as an activist for your cause. Or, just existing online as a trans person, Like, it just would have been a lot better with Rose. Just have her be trans and not have any of the main characters make that big a deal about it, even in like a positive way. Just like, oh yeah, some people kind of are, it is what it is. Just kind of a 1 out of 10 people that lost the bet on like gender we do when we look at the sex of babies, and just had to do the mundane course correction, and that was it. But there's like way more interesting stuff about Rose as a character than the trans is, and she just saves the day. Would have been better. Anyhow, I've started, I believe, circling here about the whole. Again, it's just not great. It's a little thing, that's like wildly sexist, and also like in a weird way transphobic against masked trans people. It's just not great. And not only like would the specials as a whole been better served by this, but like it really would have served the episode not to have this particular part in it. Like there's no way I can look at it without it being wildly offensive, and frankly, having it been orchestrated by the toy maker instead would have been a lot better. Anywho, let's quickly dive out of that to just talk about the end briefly. Another thing I think would have been better served by the toy maker's involvement. TARDIS, yada yada yada, spilled coffee, kind of looks forced. And like, wouldn't the TARDIS be like waterproof if it could dispense beverages? That seems like an obvious safety precaution. But like having the Doctor in the next episode in Wild Blue Yonder being like, oh yeah, shouldn't she have been waterproofed? And Donna mentioning like it kind of felt forced. I don't know what came over me, hinting at what's to come in the third special. But before we get into the third special, let us talk about the second special, Wild Blue Yonder. This is the embodiment, and I mean this in the best way possible, of a bottle episode. We can see big budget went into the first episode, big budget going into the third. We need one that needs minimal amount of sets, minimal amount of budget for this, and you can certainly see that on the little hover forklift thing flying by. Not fast enough to hide the fact it looks like PS2 level graphics there, but hey-oh. This one's the most straightforward of the bunch. They, again, like in all of the edge of the universe that they could possibly get thrown into, they get thrown into the specific part with a spaceship. Like, that's on a deadline, spoiler alert as well, to be blown up. That seems like one of the things that would have been better served. Like how improbable is it that we've hit this? Oh, well, not that improbable when we realized we were kind of thrown here by the toy maker. Again, these specials seem to be crying out for an overall orchestration from the toy maker to just, again, tie itself together for the sake of the anniversary, but also just cover over a lot of the nitpicks or plot holes, that are present. But that's neither here nor there. Basically, the TARDIS is in a bit of a kerfuffle. Oh, wait, yeah, I suppose No, I did go into the other ones about that. I kind of... nitpicks are focusing on Rose's transgenderness as like part of the whole meta crisis thing, and then the actual sincere complaint about the just kind of sexism and nonsense of like dealing with the meta crisis energy. I'll say my nitpick of what's shown in the start of this episode, this special, for later. Going into this one, it's a nice looking set, clearly done on a budget, a lot of CGI for the big hallway scenes. And basically the other two sets being a cupboard where the TARDIS just collapses into for some reason. And then, the piloting station with I'm not even sure, pneumatic tubes in one place and then some circuitry with you on it in another. Whatevs. Doctor starts fiddling around with things and give Donna a task to kind of, help that process along so he can figure out what's going on. Then the Doctor pops in to talk with Donna for a bit. Then Donna pops in to talk with the Doctor for a little bit at the same time. So we kind of realize something funky is going on, and we realize there are doppelgangers about. Representations of things beyond comprehension from outside of time and space. And yeah, one of the things I will mention right away is the CGI for them is a bit iffy, but going into spoilers and how like they struggle to compartmentalize things and understand things of a human perspective, I feel like you could have actually just like papered that over by actually having like the Doctor and Donna laugh at how stupid they are, have the things scream at them, "Why are you laughing?" Which scares them at first, but then we eventually come to realize they were just asking an honest question because they don't get it. They don't get like how you can be both what's a je ne sais quoi, afraid of something but find it incredibly absurd and silly and just laugh out loud as stupid. That would have been really nice and tied into the themes that they were exploring with these creatures. It's so obvious. I don't know how they missed it, other than the CGI was going to be done later offset, so they didn't really think about how it would look. Oh well. Anyhow, this is just emblematic of a solid mystery episode of Doctor Who, where the Doctor has to figure something out and resolve a situation that honestly would have resolved itself if they hadn't shown up. That's also a common thread with Doctor Who. It's like, hey, sometimes should have got out of bed this morning and everything would have been better. But oh well. I do like a lot of the acting they do. This allows the David Tennant and Catherine Tate to express more of a Rangers episode, embodying not only the Doctor and Donna Noble respectively, but the doppelgangers, who also have to like do a good job at pretending to be themselves, which but then also be just like unapologetically evil the next moment, but also confused and alien and beyond comprehension at the same time. It's like a lot to ask of them, but they do it effortlessly. More smoothly than I said that word. Anywho. So yeah, it is a delight. I do actually love that the Donna cops onto the Doctor doppelganger just with a simple like, "Oh, where'd your thing go?" and it not getting that. Whereas like the Doctor almost wants to believe the Donna can comprehend all that and be there to support him and get him, of like just how great a weight that all that stuff was, only for it to fall through at the last moment because she can't hold her phone together. That is like wildly cruel. I will also just get into like headcanon bits myself here for a moment. I was kind of believe like Time Lords, especially as they get more generations on the belt, kind of get stronger and just like have greater than human level strength. Like at very least stronger than the average human on the first life, and just get stronger after that. And there's some evidence to back that up, like the Master just grabbing onto somebody's shoulder the first time we ever introduced to him and just causing a lot of pain there. And we see like with the fourth Doctor just breaking through a brick with ease after the generation, and then the eighth Doctor doing the same, just like knocking down a door, like literally just knocking on the door, like he's asking anybody home, and like a metal door in a morgue gets broken off its hinges. Some people say like bursts of super strength during regeneration, but I think that's a bit silly. Like what's more likely, that limited super strength, or they're just naturally as a species stronger and the Doctor is restraining themselves because they don't want to hurt people, but in the state of post-regeneration they're just quite often a bit out of it and can't regulate themselves to the same extent. I say the latter is more likely than the former, but neither here nor there. I bring that up because like he's just kicking some je ne sais quoi, just kicking some stuff after the whole Donna thing and tearing stuff up. Well, not really. I kind of wish he did just like, rip a panel off the wall and stop bashing it into other things and just really tearing up a set. That kind of would have made it feel a lot more real for me, that he's having a breakdown, because he's kicking things where it's like, if you do believe like, the Time Lords have, greater than average human strength, bordering on superhuman. For me, it kind of still felt like the Doctor's holding back even that scene. I feel like that would have been a perfect example for him to just, let loose. Anywho. But yeah, this episode is just wonderful. Wonderful and absolute delight. And je ne sais quoi. Where was I? But again, like I said, some days it has made a guy out of bed, and it seems like the previous captain of the ship, who got sucked through a black hole to wind up where they are, realized what they were doing, realized that these creatures wanted to destroy the universe when it got to them, so just stepped out the airlock after setting up the ship to self-destruct after a very long amount of time, because they don't get it when things move slowly. It confuses them. But yeah, the doctor gives them that knowledge, and yeah, it's a race to like eat up as much time as possible so they can't, je ne sais quoi, get to the robot that's going to make them all go sky high. But the doctor succeeds. The TARDIS comes in. They fake us out for a moment, making us think the doctor's grabbed the wrong Donna. But he does a scan on her, realizes one of the arms is still too long, and kicks her out and takes the actual Donna with them. Nice suspenseful scene. And then we get back to Earth. We find out there's a bunch more chaos going on to hype us up for next week, and we get the one of the final appearances of Wilf. By mixing that with next week, the final appearance of Wilf. Sadly, his actor has now passed away. May they rest in peace. Speaking of, let us go on to talk about the Giggle. And how can we talk about the Giggle without going into the creme de la creme, the highlight of the episode? Neil Patrick Harris as the toy maker. Oh my lord. With all his fake accents, he absolutely steals this episode, and dare I say, the entire show. He's just a delight in every scene he's in, especially the spice up your life scene that is so much fun and has gone viral. And also lesser but still appreciated virality for the, well, that's okay then. That is a good meme. No, well, that's all right then. Well, that's all right then. I love it so much. I love it so much. I love it so much. I need to see it in more YouTube videos where they do all the editing from clips of shows in to spice things up. That needs to be on standby for so many people now. I love it so much. It's such good memery. Anyhow, basic premise, Toymaker sells a puppet for like the first TV broadcast that has a little giggle and starts driving people insane. Doesn't really need to do it. He's an omniscient, omnipotent god character that can do whatever they want. I think it's just like the toy with the doctor that is doing it in this way. But nevertheless, that is what they set up. It has led to the modern day going crazy and a plane just kind of crashing, That's countless people dead right there. Somehow, unit's okay. They give us the explanation of the Z-bands, but it's like, how and why? Because this is kind of like what the Toymaker's doing that exists beyond order and chaos and laws of science, So I'm not sure how they have a device that's helping them. They say the Genesis God previous companions are kind of okay because of traveling in the TARDIS and being out of sync, but they also have Mel back, I believe, the companion for the Sixth Doctor, and after? Oh no, wait, is it Perry? Hold on, let me look this up, because I remember for the screams, but like, oh, they didn't mention her here. Seriously, mention director and several of. Why are the cast and crew? Why are you listing executive producers? Hold on, let me look this up to make sure I'm right. Yeah, Bonnie Longford. Unbelievable. Rotten Tomatoes. You mentioned Russell T. Davids twice over as executive producer and writer, but didn't give Bonnie Langford, my bad. One mention. Anyhow, she's back, and that's derailed me from remembering what I was talking about. I guess I was just assuming she was back. Good luck fixing this in future editing me. We may have to come back and talk about it. Anywho. Oh, yeah, we had the Zeta rays. I'm not sure how they work, Zeta band, whatever they're called. I'm not sure how they work, other than they're supposed to introduce a intelligent alien unit has on standby to help things out, because Russell T. Davis kind of wants to do a lot of spin-offs again. Why not? Why not? I mean, I liked Class well enough when that came out. I was sad when that didn't get a second season, though. Given like the difficulties the BBC Three were experiencing at the time, I believe that's like one of the last things that came out. Hold on, that came out before BBC Three shut down. Gee, yeah, February 16, 2016. Oh my god, it was also like 2016. I wonder if that like affected it, because let's go into this speculation. Yeah, it's like February. Was this supposed to originally air on BBC Three as like a TV series, but that eventually, announced on October 1st, 2015. I wonder why. Well, yeah, there's no way to really see viewing with it all digital. I've just gotten wildly distracted there now. Yeah, we're just a lot of this episode is also servicing as groundwork for some potential unit TV series that may be down the line, because they have like a dedicated set for that now, as well as again, science robot alien, for one doctor not around. I point by point breakdown, it's a bit hard to get through, because like this episode was remarkably quick. It is a breeze to watch and get through, but also doesn't leave much to talk about in a way other than nitpicks. Again, I did mention my love of the scene where he just goes into Junisawa turning into the doctor, saying, well, that's all right then. Going into specifically how the companions died and keeping it a bit succinct. Though I will say with Bill, I feel like the doctor having any retort kind of betrays the artistic intent, the writer's original intent with her death. That was the one the doctor unequivocally got wrong. With Amy chose willingly to get touched by the weeping angel in order to be with Roy, who was back there. I do feel like there needs to be some retconning in them to have permanently died and had the nets broken, because there's so many loopholes for Amy and Roy's situation for the doctor to go back and visit them. It's like, we'll get tortured 4.5 billion years for Claire. Will not step foot in New Jersey for Amy and Roy. There's too big a discrepancy there. I dare say it's a necessity to retcon that. And like I'm not gonna worry about what's it consistent with this episode when I say something has to be definitely retcon. But anywho, then we move on to Claire, who is honestly in many ways responsible for her own death there, just overconfident and reckless. But at the same time, I doubt she would say she regretted her death, because she did it in pursuit of trying to save someone else. So while I imagine, would choose not to die if she could have had that choice, just like, no death for me today. I still think she would arguably feel proud of the way she went out, because she was trying to save and help somebody, and that is noble and respectable. And then, like I said, the doctor got tortured for 4.5 billion years by his own people in the confession dial, and then in an attempt to save her and bring her back. At the very least, she had more life than she would have otherwise without all these shenanigans, even if she does eventually die in that moment of time. But like, Bill is just inarguably the one that dies because the doctor was overconfident, Like, just started assuming these were simple, routine, run-of-the-mill things that he does, and didn't really appreciate the danger anymore. And that kind of led to Bill's death. Again, like, nitpicking on, like, je ne sais quoi. Where was I? Just how I would have done things with the doctors, especially in that instance, given Missy some kind of like weapon that's wouldn't be lethal to myself, but still would be part of like the trust exercise, is like recognizing she says, I'm not going to be your type of good, as respecting her like own judgment and je ne sais quoi opinion as a person that's not always going to perfectly line with mine, would have given her something and just had as a trust exercise to see if she wouldn't use it all willy-nilly just to get away or just make things simpler, a risk, but at the same time, she was that genuinely invested. Let's stop rewriting other episodes, shall we? Point is, Bill's dead. It's on the doctor. There should be no retort there from him. That's kind of against what the original intent of her passing was. And also on top of that, I don't think the doctor is even aware consciousness survived. And this is like, we're implying some kind of like off-screen events happened, because like he was unconscious when all that happened, when they got brought back to the TARDIS. Anywho, that's kind of like, again, good example of criticism, even for a nitpick, demands a breath. Anyhow, is there anything else you want to go on to? Again, it's a lot of style and panache for this episode that make it really engaging. But there isn't much to go into, like a beat by beat thing of how great this episode is, other than being self-referential for that thing every scene it comes across. Whereas now we kind of have to skip to the aftermath of the spice up your life thing, and the thing that has kind of divided the fandom, and I'm kind of thoroughly against on how it is represented in this show, by regeneration. They established a big old laser gun to shoot satellites, broadcasting the Toymaker's signal. Even again, I don't even think he needs one, because again, he's not really relying on science in any shape or form to do this. He's just a god who can do whatever he wants. Anyhow, and this is crucial, he pushed his people off a ledge in order to get the thing, and mentions a line. Oh, I think they're still falling and haven't hit the ground yet. We will circle back to that in a little bit. Anyhow, is in control of the big laser gun, shoots the doctor. We assume they're gonna die in giant faces. Instead, they split in two. Let's talk about this purely from a meta perspective. First and foremost, it is a anniversary special. There has before this only been three others, three official ones, being the 3 doctors, the 5 doctors, and I can't remember the 50th special. All of them from starting with the 3 doctors, multi-doctor specials, featuring the first 3 original doctors as much as they could. William Hartnell, if I remember correctly, was in poor health at the time that was done, so he could only do a few brief recordings, but did feature them. They recasted William Hartnell for the 5 doctors. Tom Baker didn't want to appear in that for some reason. Well, primarily because he feels I only just left and now I'm coming back for a special. I don't think that's wise. He does. I do believe he's gone on record saying he regretted doing that later in life, but that's neither here nor there. And then we have David Tennant and Matt Smith for the 50th special. And because they were not able to get Christopher Eccleston because he wanted a different director, and that's a reasonable ask, a reasonable disagreement on the part of him and the BBC there. They instead cast John Hutt as the War Doctor, previously unseen version of the Doctor that fought in the Time War, despite it being heavily hinted that was Christopher Eccleston's Doctor. But oh well. Problem is, for doctors they could feasibly do this for, that have an age out of the roles to a significant degree that can't be compensated some way or another. It pretty much puts all the old 2 doctors out. Matt Smith was busy with his Game of Thrones prequel series, so he couldn't exactly make it for that, I believe, especially at the time this was all shot. Peter Capaldi, je ne sais quoi, I doubt would want to be available based on his previous statements of things oh, it's a fantastic thing it's happened, but it's kind of special when it's over, and that's that, I don't think he is ever really going to want to come back. Maybe Big Finish, but I doubt maybe even that. Who knows? Point is, I think he's kind of done. He loved being there when he was there, but he's over it now. We just moved past Jodie Whittaker, so having her pop up again seems unfeasible, and I doubt primarily she would want to because of how much of an S show this was for her career. No one spoke positively about her for the last 6 years, and she's only just out of it. So it never seemed likely they were going to bring her back again for this. And Christopher Eccleston has recently just gone on the record of saying what will it take for you to come back to Doctor Who. Oh, fire, Russell T. Davies and a bunch of other higher-up people working at the BBC, and then I'll consider it. So, still on bad terms with them after the scummy behavior of saying, TLDR, a lot of things were happening behind the scenes I thought was unprofessional, and eventually had to just bail out because of them, out of his own opinion there. He just could not take any more of that, could not abide any more of it, and left. But they said to save face for the show, without his consent, that he was a bit tired. He was just a bit tired of doing things like that, a series. And it's oh yeah, that's kind of a massive blow to an actor's career. It suddenly becomes quite harder to get ongoing work like that for a series when people have the expectation of, you're just gonna get a bit tired after this, after one season, So like you can see, like at the time he went to work at this work in the States, performing things like G.I. Joe and stuff around that time. And it's like in retrospect, with like scandals we know about with what was it? John Burrowman, Captain Jack, apparently doing rather naughty things on set, not getting reprimanded in any way. And then we see from the first Christmas special with David Tennant, him literally spreading the rumor about somebody looking a bit tired and that ruining their career. And we suddenly have to wonder where Russell T. Davis got that effing idea from. You know, seems a bit more than a coincidence, you know? Kind of seems like, you know, what's it? Reality inspired fiction in that instance. Oh, like, I'm sorry, there's no way you could convince me that's a coincidence that he, after everything that happened, that he wrote it, just coincidentally wrote it in that way, you know? No way. No way. Anyhow, that is all to say, with this case of bioregeneration, it's kind of just tradition for the specials to have multiple doctors in them, but all the old Who ones are out, and all the new Who ones were out for varying and complex reasons. So you kind of needed a way to have both the doctor after David Tennant, Genesis Claw, appear, while also having David Tennant regenerate into them, or at least provide regeneration as a way for them to appear. So we just kind of get the nonsense of bioregeneration. And it's kind of permanent, it seems. I'll go more into how that breaks down after we talk about the ending to the episode, but I will just say my preference for the way for this to work would have been Genesis Claw, the 14th Doctor as they are, is simply an echo that lasts a short amount of time relative to a Time Lord that just comes about when a Time Lord regenerates, when they're under great duress. Potentially can come about, I say, because they say it's like a legend or something, i.e. I'll give it as my one bullshit the pulling out of the backside for the reasons I went into previously. And yeah, basically comes about when a Time Lord feels like they need help dealing with a situation that has just killed them, and they just leave an echo behind of the previous selves as they regenerate into the new one. And also, you can see where I got my thumbnail from this one as well, because like the way they split about, they just get some of the clothes each, and like you can clearly see Gatwa is wearing underwear. We can only assume that David Tennant is going commando under there. Because for some reason, they gave him a weird little dress shirt that he's wearing under his normal shirt, which is like, gotta be super uncomfortable. Like, why couldn't he have just been wearing a t-shirt, you know? Why? Whatever. Basically wearing a mini dress shirt under the dress shirt, but that's neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. As it stands, the way the bioregeneration is presented, I do not approve of, I do not like, and I think it is second only to The Timeless Child in terms of nonsense that doesn't really quite get what Genesis Squad, the fandom, wants from the show. Why it's invested in the show, following one central character that we've kind of seen grow to become this great person that wasn't so great to begin with, but became that over time. And now it's kind of like split them into two persons, like more in detail later. I will say, I tested this phrase with a Lich VT, as I mentioned earlier, and I feel this is very much a George Lucas moment for Russell T. Davis, where he kind of needs somebody to pull on the reins and say, no, this is kind of dumb, and none of the fans are going to like it. Like, at best, they'll be indifferent and be like, okay, I guess this is kind of what we're doing now. And, at worst, they will actively hate this, and it will be like a sour note to the ending of the show. But ending of the specials. But we'll get into that more in a moment. Resolving the situation with the toy maker. The Doctor way back in the day. Toymaker boasts of how many people he's beaten, including the Master, trapped in a golden tooth. Comes important in a moment. So the Doctor rightly assuming that, the more complicated the games are, the harder it is to actually beat the Toymaker. Because Genesis Claw, he is the master of these things. He is the living embodiment of these things. There's no rule set you can make that is too complicated for him to understand. They won't be able to perfectly perfect and play to perfection. So the Doctor reasonably enough, goes for a game of just simple chance of, highest cut of a deck of cards. And, does get pretty high himself, but the toy maker gets a king, then Genesequa. Sorry, this is all after the puppet show thing. And yeah, Genesequa, the doctor then says 1-all, as if that somehow still counts. But they're acting as it does, so best of 3 to 2023. Also, a lot of commentary that isn't particularly strong, about the current social media landscape, and the game of the day is opinions and everyone being right, and it's again, I'm not saying Genesequa the doctor's never been political. That's clearly not the case. It's been very blatantly political in ways that the Jodie Whittaker era, the Chibnall era, didn't quite get, especially with Kablam, But yeah, this was just a little ham-fisted at this point. But at the same time, it basically just. But basically, it's a brief footnote as we get back to, Neil Patrick Harris just destroying the scenery around him and stealing the show. Anyhow, the final game ends up being after he shoots the doctor and the whole bioregeneration thing is a simple game of catch. And, he can't refuse, especially with 2 of them, because he did it. He brought them about, so he can't use that as an excuse to weasel out of the game. I personally would have preferred, because the way they have it eventually just kind of messes up and drops the ball. But, teleporting isn't against the rules of catch. Just people, the vast majority of people, cannot do it. So, I would perfectly have that be within the rule set for the toy maker to do, to teleport and just catch the ball. But, and this is a massive D-cup and also disputed by the community, going back to the 3rd Doctor episode, The Inferno. Not important why, bad guys want a reel of something. The Doctor goes to, hand it to them, but it poofs out of existence. They're kerfuffled, the scene advances, they leave, and the doctor has to retrieve the thing, goes back to the place where it vanishes, and reach out his hand to touch and grab it out of thin air again. For some reason, there was a lot of speculation of the doctor being able to magically summon things and poof things away, and it's I'm not saying that can't also be the case, but he's a Time Lord. I think it's quite clearly he's just he does reference it to being a parlor trick, if I remember correctly. He's quite clearly just moving it forward in time to the future, where he grabs it from his future, basically passing it over to his future self, moving it through time in that way. And I would say, if the toy maker can teleport, the doctor can definitely throw the ball forwards and backwards in time, overwhelming the toy maker until eventually starts to notice the available pool of balls dwindling, and then starts to get frustrated knowing what that means, and then throwing back the last one, where the doctor throws it back, and it's vanished in time. No other ones are appearing. He looks behind him. He missed one. Somewhere in the overwhelming nonsense, he missed one. I feel like that would have been a bit more entertaining, because they specifically mentioned dropping one, but there was the specific line of, I don't think they've hit the bottom yet, reminding us that the gravitational constant exists, and it takes a while for something to hit the ground from the top of a skyscraper. I'm just saying that would have been more entertaining. And they do hint at the doctor being superhuman in this instance, based on some of the way he catches the balls, running up a wall to catch one, surviving a hit that knocks him off his feet without any issue, Genesequa. And just the speed at which they're catching these things, and having to edit back and forth to keep up the pace. It just, I feel, would have made a better way and actually provide some cleverness, the doctor was, to be fair, willing to play above board as well, but if the toy maker is going to technically, then so is the doctor. I feel that would have just been a bit better of a way for the toy maker to lose. But nevertheless, he does lose, gets sucked back into his Genesequa. I forgot to mention it. The doctor kind of does a salt thing. What's it? Oh yeah, the whole thing, I was overarching plot, the soul thing at the edge of the universe, invoking superstition that creates a crack for the toy maker to get in. But basically, he just goes about expecting this doctor to just go and do these things naturally. But because he basically overviews like the entirety of the 10th Doctor's era and never sees him does this thing, but it's like, no, not my problem. But then causality is like something that can affect him on a cosmic scale. If the thing that led him into this universe never happened, how could he be in this universe? So even he has to abide by that to some extent, and basically come to the 13th Doctor, forces her to regenerate into David Tennant's one again, into the exact outfit he saw him in, and, send him on over to Donna Noble and set up events in order for him to get into the universe and do his nonsense in the third special. That would have been a much better overarching story, And you just provide the hints, hear the giggle every now and again, some discrepancies that don't really make sense unless somebody is like orchestrating events, and that's all you need. That's all you need. That's all you need, and it would have been great. But like stubbornly, Russell T Davis wants to buck that for some reason, by especially insisting there's not any funny business going on with the 14th Doctor. It's just a natural regeneration. But it's like the clothes don't normally change, so what's that about? Trans-panic, apparently. But the stance he takes, so why would that be in it? Again, slightly, another George Lucas moment there, along with by regeneration. Just stubborn moments. Anywho, on the whole, with regeneration, I feel this is a bad move. It is going to do nothing but leave an opening for bad faith actors to just dismiss Judy Gartwart altogether. Whether it be just honestly, I'm trying to think of it a reason to be a bad faith actor for him other than just racism. You can provide some examples in the comments down below. It primarily would be just racism. So, typically the way it goes, killing off the previous Doctor in order to, only be able to focus on the current one. Oh, wait, need to pause now. Christmas time when people keep popping in to say hi. Just gave some gifts to my niece. Anywho. Yes, the whole point of killing off the previous actor is primarily so the audience in the show can, primarily focus upon the current incarnation of the Doctor. Dividing up in two this way kind of just splits the focus, and say, when given the choice of a well-tested veteran who's going through, the arc of trying to deal with an emotional trauma and just live their best life with their family and their niece, and sneaking off on little adventures with them, versus, just the guy that just seems to be all okay and fine with the previously mentioned trauma without having to do any of that work themselves. Normally a newer generation could give you a bit of buffer time, give you a season 2 before you have to get into any of that stuff, But now, when you're directly comparing the two of them, and also confusingly saying we're doing therapy out of order, but these are two different incarnations. The theory I was saying, spending a few months with them before getting reabsorbed back into the Doctor as an echo, would make a lot more sense here, It would provide clarity to all of these events. But as is, and especially because the two TARDIS rule to play things, the position the TARDIS was in originally is the one that David Tennant keeps, which kind of, again, if you just wanted to view him as the original, and this is the Metacrisis by regeneration variant, there we go. We can just kind of write this version off for whatever reason you want. Maybe bad ones, who knows? If the series goes on and if you don't really particularly like Judy Gartwart, if he doesn't quite deliver, because he doesn't have a bunch of time to do so in this one. Also, it is just spent being condescending towards David Tennant for various reasons. But again, very limited screen time. It's mostly just David Tennant, which again, I kind of feel like it would have just been a bit better served, just having the toy maker just snap his fingers to end this nonsense he was doing and restore it to the proper Doctor it should have been at this point. That would have been nice instead, but we'll just have to see how bad this George Lucas moment was. Again, I said it. I'd much rather be following David Tennant, not only because he's the well-tested one, but it's he's also, I will also say, again, the concept of him taking time off to deal with his emotional baggage and us seeing that with Rose and Donna and Mel and all that would be nice. Also, Stephen Moffat, his doctors were like notoriously did take long periods of time off after the passing of his companions. They say like, oh, you never take time to do it, but no, like he does. He does. That's like another instance of like Russell T Davies ignoring critical stuff from Moffat's era. That's just to suit his own ends. Like after Amy and Roy died, he sulked for like several years on top of a cloud in Victorian London. After Claire passed, he spent like 40 years, 27 or something years. On Trenzalore or something? Not Trenzalore, whatever, with his final date with River Song lasting one air quotes night. And then after she passed, he spent like 70 years teaching in a university and looking after Missy, trying to rehabilitate her, the Doctor has notoriously, especially over the last few years before Jodie Whittaker, taken time off when appropriate. So that even that doesn't quite work. And then, it's just not great. It's just not great. And also, yes, having a version of the Doctor back at Earth ready to pick off if the main one ever dies off kind of kills any on all tension, of like regeneration or, we know it's not going to happen, but any potential permanent death. It's like, why should I care when there's the backup on Earth or, the main one back on Earth, depending on how you'd want to do it, as I view it. It's just a bad idea. And again, like it misses the same thing that the Timeless Child does, just in a different way. It's the journey of one character who we, for the most part, see all this. There can be stuff happening off screen to add mystique, but we see the vast majority of the major beats of this character on screen, of the development on screen as we follow along this one character who changes up with the generation. Suddenly, adding a bunch of stuff before the start point in the series, like way too much, kind of just kills it, just doesn't add any mystery intrigue, and kind of spoils the journey that we've been on with them. It's like, no, that matters because all this extra sequel special stuff that happened before we ever met William Hartnell. In this case, now there's 2 doctors, more the merrier. Like the Toymaker said, we can have a field of doctors running to and fro. Kind of kills the interest because it's like one character we're following. And as I previously stated, keeping the well-tested veteran around as the new guy is about kind of kills a lot of interest to get fully invested in the new guy. And that's, again, looking at this from another meta perspective, I feel like the main reason this came about is it has to be just, again, I'm going to give myself another, is it a swear? I don't think it is, but still, I'll call him it. Russell D. Davies has become slightly an emotional cuck in his old age, unwilling to do the same emotional trauma to a generation he did the first time with David Tennant's parting, viewing it like too sad or difficult for the next guy. And maybe because he has to worry about that now, he doesn't want him to go on at the sad note. But that's kind of the deal you signed up for when you play the Doctor. You have a good run of it, but eventually you'll bow out on a sad note, and then somebody else will take over. It's just how the system operates. And as much as I do love David Tennant, he's not special enough to get out of that compared to any other Doctor. You come in, you have a grand time, your character dies and is replaced by the next incarnation. That's how the system operates. You don't get to be special and circumvent that. You don't. Especially after the whole meta-crisis thing, leaving a clone in a parallel universe. Also, I'm loving all the memes of like Martha not getting her own incarnation. Knowing Martha's luck, she'd get a human copy of John Sims' master to tail her around to the end of her days, just harassing her. That's exactly Martha's luck. Anywho. And like, again, the vast majority of the time with these specials, I'm loving them. I'm having a grand old time. And then right at the crucial 11th hour where it all has to come together, it just screws the pooch. S is the bed, Just like steps on a rake, Could easily go around it, but deliberately chooses to step on a rake and spoil the ending. And now I have to say, what does this entail for, the upcoming seasons? Because if this didn't happen, it was just a normal generation, I'd say we're in safe hands, everything's going to be all right. But now I do have this worry in me and it's too late for the next season because that's already been well and truly wrapped for a while and just been waiting to be released. And they've already started shooting on episode 1. So any and all course reaction they could possibly want to do in response to fan backlash, if they even want to do such a thing, would now involve either, expensive reshoots or rewrites, or having to pivot in a third season with this Doctor and retconning stuff. That's kind of an issue. This is an issue a lot of Genesis animated shows have been dealing with, that they have to prepare stuff so far in advance they don't have any time to respond to fan desire, expectation, or criticism, like with Harley Quinn's show that starts off strong and then for the vast majority of fans really dips off in later seasons. At this point is doing a spin-off for Kite Man, dare I say it, 2 seasons after the Harley Quinn show, too late, but oh well. Are they on season 5? God, I can't even remember. It's nothing but bad things have I heard said about the latest season. I'm not sure about the second latest, but that only goes to speak to what happened in that. Okay, I think they're on season 4. Not a video about that. Point is, preparing too far in advance kind of means you're trapped with what you've already written, even if fan response is starting to sour to it. You're starting to realize basically you're banking too much on being able to anticipate and expect what will please fans, and if those expectations on your end don't meet up with fan expectations, if there's a mismatch there, suddenly you've backed stored away what is basically a bunch of garbage for people, because it's just not what they want and you can't really correct a pivot. That's kind of an issue. I think one of the reasons Rick and Morty is one of the best animated series, what's in animation right now, is because it's basically 2 years between every season. The time they need to respond to everything being said about the last one, if they care to do so in any way, but at least take that in and then go on to make the next season and release it, and so on and so forth. They don't constantly have to back up multiple seasons in a row years in advance before people could ever see them and respond to them. I feel that's one of the reasons it's one of the freshest shows on TV to this day, compared to, again, a lot of other animated shows, or I guess potentially Doctor Who now. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But again, based on by regeneration, I'm going to be waiting very nervously. Still, I don't think it's going to be complete garbage, at least straight away. They released that song for the upcoming Genesis Christmas special that you should be able to watch after this. I'll have to, even with editing, schedule this 5 p.m. or something instead of 6. Make sure you have enough time to watch this. But yeah. Also, if all things go according to plan, I should be streaming that day as well after the Doctor Who special, so be sure to tune in and check me out. Hey, Future Sod here, just going over the edit and realized I forgot to say a few things. I'm going to do that real quick. Christmas Day. First and foremost, the master, Golden Tooth, hand picks it up. I forgot to mention, and I specifically called it, we'll be circling back that, so had to bring that in. Other nitpick thing is that after Jodie Whittaker, who was a doctor defined by the love of life, air quotes, what does that even mean? We seem to be getting that exact same thing again with Juti Gatwa, with the only difference being, idiosyncrasies of the actors. I don't know, again, if it's hubris or arrogance, Nosotiri David Spars wanted to do better what failed just previously, or I don't know, just didn't really consider oh wait, yeah, how are these two going to compare back to back with each other? Because even if you're saying it's an official generation, a lot of people are writing David Tennant off as just the 10th Doctor again. So Jodie and Judy are the ones we're going to be comparing directly with each other. And they just at a first glance, besides again, the specifics of the actors themselves, they seem very similar on paper. Hopefully that changes with time, but who knows? We'll have to see. But anywho, what else? Oh yes, yes. This one borders the line between like nitpick and genuine critique that I forgot to go into when it came to the opening scene in Wild Blue Yonder, and then the doctor, what's it, commenting that Isaac Newton looked hot, and it's to get into it very briefly because I'm pressed for time. Going from Peter Capaldi to Jodie Whittaker, the only person that Doctor ever showed interest in was Yaz, and that is inherently transgressive because it's then becomes like lesbian representation, despite the fact that who the Doctor is attracted to hasn't changed. It's solely they themselves who have changed, which, if I remember correctly, does track well with like trans statistics, like the a notion a lot of people have is like people transition in order to je ne sais quoi, say from guy to girl to then get with guys. But no, it seems like it's an independent process, regardless of whatever they happen to be interested of beforehand. And a lot of trans people go on to be identify as gay after transitioning or bi, which means they're attracted to the same gender themselves. Guy transitions a girl, but still is in two girls, so on and so forth. So, like, I feel they feel the need to suddenly go like the bi route with David Tennant and Juti Gatra after Jodie Whittaker, despite not needing to do that with Jodie, is because going from straight to like lesbian back to straight again, just I mean, straight to lesbian, transgressive, and feels progressive, whereas like back to just plain old straight again doesn't. And I feel like they need to do this for like a superficial reason. I feel like it's coming from a well-meaning place, but at the same time, I feel like it would just be better served by just having good representation in characters the Doctor meets up with and interacts with, as opposed to just kind of throwing that out for some reason and doing progressive stereotyping with like Donna saying, "Oh yeah, you always kind of look like a type." Like that's a good thing. Okay, blanked for a second there. Needed to recall what my thought was. Yeah, it's kind of in comparison to like say morality. It's like suddenly just popping up with a Doctor that is just out of nowhere, like kind of evil when like there's never been any like indication of that before. I suppose like with this, there's some Genesis hints with Paul McGann's Doctor and like various books and audio novels. Audio series with Big Finish, if I remember correctly, of him kind of being a bit more bi, but at the same time, we also have examples with Colin Baker Doctor identifying as asexual. So I feel those are just like exceptions. Could be the case again, fair enough, but it's like I feel like we have an overwhelming clear history with like of examples with the Doctor, like who they're interested in and that they're interested in go after. And I do get it is from like a well-meaning place, but I feel like it is poorly served in this instance. But again, that is just my opinion. Okay, back to the rest of the video. Also, comment down below any of your thoughts and opinions of the three specials, and how do you feel about the next few years of Who? Do you think it's all going to work out fine, and it's just like the one George Lucas moment, or oh, I guess like it is kind of like to an I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm misremembering here. No script, if you could tell. Flying off the cuff. I remember alluding to two, but oh wait, no. Yeah, it was just the refusal to tie the three specials together by it having some kind of plan enacted by the toy maker. Yeah, now I remember. So yeah. Okay, that one's more on me. I will say so I will stand by like the biogeneration being objectively a George Lucas moment. Do you think there's more of them to come, or do you think it's just a one-time blip? And it will be smooth sailings from here on out until we have to like address this in some way, or just like offhandedly retcon it out of existence, saying it was like the Echo thing, or it just didn't really happen because and in a meta perspective, just have the Doctor throw like Davis under the bus, start wanting to kill off David again. Oh well. Oh yeah, I should mention that David leaving the first time was special to me. It was haunting moving and beautiful, and it stuck with me for years after. And now it's kind of tainted with this whole bioregeneration nonsense, and just like I don't want to go and I'll never be here again, like, properly after regenerating, not, time shenanigans earlier from before then meeting the later incarnation after regeneration. No, it's just like, oh, I don't want to go. Yeah, at least why? You're just gonna pop up back again later and get a happy day of after retirement to the family. Like I would never be able to feel the same way about that scene ever again, and I feel robbed of that. This was like the one thing I was worried about the entire time. Like the one thing I was worried about was them like saying, "Oh, I'm at peace now and ready to go," and it's like, not I'm stealing the weight of that first scene. And well, it's not quite in the same way I imagine it. They did do that. That was the one fear I had, and they lived up to that. So I'm going to be very worried about the future, even if I do expect plenty of highlights to come. Goddamn Sky Remote Sonic Screwdriver. What are you hopeful about? The upcoming special and season of Doctor Who. Let me know down in the comments, as well as your various thoughts and opinions about what I've said over the course of this review, or just Doctor Who in general. Any fan theories like I've had with the whole moving objects through time, or just being generally stronger than humans, bordering on superhuman as they get more, well, not just going into superhuman territories, they get more generations in the build. Comment down below, and again, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. See you all around. Ta-ta, Wiedersehen, until we meet again. Bye-bye, my pretties.